session, we'll be analyzing complex data set using pivot tables. So a pivot table is a powerful tool for analyzing and summarizing complex data sets. So as we have it here, you see that we have a large data set here. So for summarizing data to get insights based on the data we have available, we can utilize a pivot table, okay? So the first thing we need to do is to learn how to create a pivot table for an analysis. So we have cleaned this data set. We cleaned this data set previously, so we need to use it for analysis. But before we do or go into summary analysis or pivot analysis, we have to take a look, right? We have to take a look at the data we have. We have name, nationality. So it's possible we look at the most occurring nationality. Then we have the age. We'll be using age later on. We have club, we have start and end contract, as well as other values. Let's say value, wage, and release clause. So if we want to use that. Certainly, it's not all data presented in a sheet or in a table that you use for analysis. You basically pick key variables you want to test. So the first is to insert the pivot table, right? So to insert a pivot table, we go to what? Insert tab, right? We click on insert, then we come to tables group and we have pivot tables here. What I like to do, certainly, if I have not really keyed in or taken account of the headings, what I usually do is to come to recommended tables here and see the kinds of comparison Excel is recommending for me. Okay. So, but I don't want anyone here right now. So I could just either go back to insert a pivot table or click blank pivot table here or pivot table. But let's do it the normal way. We come to pivot table here. Then we have the pivot table dialog here. So what we do now is to take notes of this. So because we inserted directly from a table, it basically picked the table name here, Bootcamp 1. So we could either create in a new worksheet or in an existing worksheet. But the challenge with creating an existing worksheet is that our pivot table will have to come out somewhere here, which that is not what we want. We actually want it to come to create a new worksheet for Ross, okay? So we said we let it stay, allow it here on new worksheet, and then click OK. So now a little bit of description on what we have here already. We have inserted our pivot table. Coming to this area, we have our pivot table fields. And I'm going to describe these sections we have here so that it will be easy for us to navigate, okay? All right, so in the pivot table fields, we have the headings of our columns from our data set represented here. So we have the pivot areas here. We have the filter, we have the columns, we have the rows and values. The column and the row areas serve as labels, while the value area is the calculation area. That is to say, anything I basically impute in the values area gets calculated. On the row serves as labels, and I will show you how. Let us pick nationality, for instance, now. Click, hold, and drag to rows. So you see what I mean by labels, right? We've picked nationality to rows, and it serves as labels. It basically gives us all the nationalities present in our data set. That is what it does. So the corresponding values to the rows is what we put in values. If I was to basically know or simply know how many in the population, how many people are from Albania, for instance, if that was my goal, I would also click, hold, and pick nationality to values. So what happens here is that because nationality is in text, it assumes the count function, okay? It counts how many times Albania appears, as well as Algeria and so on. So we could basically see that from this data set, we have Brazil. I think Brazil is the highest. Yeah, Brazil is the highest, okay? So we had done sort and filter before. You could still do your sort and filter here to basically sort these based on ascending or descending order. So if we look at these on the value setting, you are going to see what I mean. Now, it is count of nationalities, right? You see it counts. So, but these are the various analyses that can occur in this values area, depending on what you said it should do. But automatically, Excel sets text for count and sets numbers for sum automatically. So if you want it to be average, max or mean or product or count numbers and so on, you just do this and select what you want, okay? So this is it, right? This is simple. We have just inserted a simple pivot table here. So what about the areas, the filters and the column areas? Like I said, the column area still serves the purpose of what label. Let's say you want to actually do a comparison, right? You want to know how many of these players of this nationality are spread through a position. So we could pick position here and you see, okay? I want to say this now. The essence of pivot analysis is for summary. So whenever we do an analysis and we are having something worse than a table, recall that that is not the essence of pivot analysis, and so it is not correct. So I'm going to take out position and remove the field. So for the filter area now, we could easily just filter using a variable. Let's use a variable, say start contract. So usually for filtering, filters like age, nationality, and so on are usually very important in filtering because it cuts across a wide range of entries rather than just independent entries. For instance, now we could use club as filter, we could use start contract as filter. Let's use club as a filter. So immediately we'll pick club into the filter area. We need to come here, right? And click this drop down and say select multiple items, okay? So that it selects all the items. So you see multiple items have been selected now. So it is checked on all right now so that everything will be represented on the table. But if I just want maybe AC Monza, now I want to know players in AC Monza and what their nationalities are. You see, I just have Ghana. I can still come to the filter now, select and say, let me see Ajax and say, okay. So you see in Ajax, based on this data set, we have 2 from Argentina, 2 from Brazil, Cameroon, 1 from Cameroon, 1 from Morocco, 2 from Netherlands, and 1 from Serbia. That is based on this sample data set we have. So you see the essence of the filter now. The essence of the filter is that it filters through the data set, okay? Let's see Al Hilal. This is our result for Al Hilal. And then we have Al Nassr. We have this result for Al Nassr. So let me pick all so that we have all represented rather. So there's another way to filters won't really work well in dashboards. So what will work in dashboards they are called slicers, right? So we use slicers as interactive visual filters, right? That allows users to slice and dice pivot tables data dynamically. Okay, so to insert a slicer on a pivot table, right? It is possible that we insert more slicers on or connect one slicer to multiple pivot tables. But now let's just learn how to insert this directly now. So you will basically click on a row label or basically anywhere within the pivot table, right? That's the first step. Then we go to, you could either here, there are various ways you could do that. I think 2 ways basically. You find out that if you're on the pivot table, you don't have a conditional tab here. But if I come to the pivot table, I have pivot table analyze. I also have pivot table design. So this is the pivot table. The design is to design the table, right? While the pivot table analyze is perform analysis on this pivot table. All right. So you could insert slicers by coming to the filter group and click on insert slicer here. That's one way. And let's pick club, for instance, here, and you will see pick club and say okay. So we have all the club represented here, right? So you see that it is interactive, visually appealing, and we could basically change from different styles, right? Change using different styles as you would like to use. So you see, I can just move on and select and dice through my pivot table. So if I want to clear, I'll come here